around, I expect some IT problems with Microsoft, so I'm always like, my toes.
Yeah, I have a Microsoft cloud above my head, and it's snowing all the time. You see, that's my hair is white. And
Don't
that's
jinx
what
it.
Microsoft cloud means to me.
Nice background though.
Yeah. Okay. So, guys, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right, so let's let's go ahead and start. Chris.
Yeah, thanks and hello everyone. My name is Chris Wu from Metro Vancouver. I'll be co-leading the asset management and risk topic with Mert. So yeah, we are very excited to kick off our streams for this year under the new initiative called WISE. So we have short presentations to structure our discussion today and collect your feedback and discuss the next steps regarding this topic. So I think one sort of changes that I want to highlight is until so under UAIM umbrella, we have two separate streams for asset management and risk management, sorry. But we decided to combine them because there's strong correlation between the two topic areas. So I just wanted to let people know in case you're sort of new to this topics. So yeah, go to the next slide. So yeah, this is our agenda for today. So we'll start with just brief introductions of who we are, including all the great utility partners on the calls, and then we can move on to the WISE asset management and risk team, starting with the just brief recap of what we have done under UAIM on the two topic areas. We developed, the 2B model as is, and also some metrics to track performance of these business processes. So we can just briefly talk about those. And then the scope of WISE, which will sort of focus around, case studies and improving some of the sub-processes under the main process map that we developed under UAIM. And then participation and engagements. I just want to highlight that it's really important to get your, active participations and interest to, increase and improve the quality of the output of our work, right? And hopefully you can also learn from other utilities and, initiate some, projects to implement some of the processes that we're developing in a collaborative manner. And that's the whole point of UAIM and WISE, in my opinion. So I just want to emphasize that as well. And then next, it's the logistics and next steps. So we'll be having bi-weekly calls. So the next one will be September 28th. But on top of that, we're going to have workshops, and then hopefully we can tie it with some of the main conferences, major conferences like WEFTEC and UMC. So the next one in October this year is the WEFTEC 2021, and the plan is to have a workshop. I think Cello and Scott are still working on the structure of the workshops and agenda for that. So stay tuned. And then also we have a small asks for all of you to make it more sort of meaningful planning process. So Mert will talk about, what we need from you in terms of action items. And then, the WEF is also sort of focusing on engaging and networking with young professionals. So we just want to sort of briefly talk about that as well. And then finishing with, open discussions, Q&A, and if you have any feedback to the process, that's where we're going to collect those comments. So next slide, Mert. So yeah, this is just a member introduction slide. So I introduced myself already. So maybe Mert, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. Hello, everybody. I think I know everybody from our last meetings from last year, but in case that's not the case, good morning again from Portland. Mert Maflugel. I'm an engineer at the asset management branch of Portland Water Bureau. And I've been sort of dabbling in asset management for the last about 14 years. And this concepts of risk management and asset management plan development are professionally very dear to me. So with that said, I don't know how to how to sort of pass the ball next. So there is like a little list of attendees on the right. So maybe we just follow that. So it looks like start with maybe Alireza, and then maybe you can pass the ball to somebody else.
Yeah. So if I'm at the top of the list on my on the right, on my screen anyway, Scott Haskins, and I'm part of the project team, work with Cello, Mike Barnett, and Wef, and I'm here to support you all on this team.
Alireza?
Yes, Alireza Parhami with DC Water. I'm involved in asset management, hydraulic modeling, you name it, at DC Water, and I'm here to, I guess, help out in any capacity.
Okay, Jenny?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenny Chaddock, and I'm a process analyst in our system and asset planning team here at Tacoma Water. And I'm just here to continue involvement in this asset management work group. I've been a participant the past 2 years.
Benjamin Keenan?
Hello, Ben Keenan. I am a business systems manager in the asset management group at the Metropolitan Council in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Prior to that, I was an operations manager. So I spent about a year and a half in plant operations, and I was a nuclear engineer for 20 years prior to that. So that's kind of where I picked up most of my risk and asset management knowledge. So I'm here to hopefully learn some and add something to the sort of asset management and risk journeys of the group. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Sweeney?
Hi, I'm Mike Sweeney with Toho Water Authority. We're based in Kissimmee, Florida, Central Florida, and I've been an asset management driver and groupie for nearly 20 years. I'm more interested right now in the management of asset management and how you can incorporate it within the utility at large and not just restrict it to engineering and operations. And been involved with the UAIM project, of course, since its inception, and looking forward to this next phase. Thanks.
Thank you. Scott Parker? Is on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know what's going on there, Cello. Sorry about that. Scott Parker, Casey Water, Kansas City, Missouri. I am the asset manager for Casey Water. I have been here for 3 years. I've been doing my asset management for 12 or so years. Come out of the finance sector. That's my background. And I guess I'm here for all the reasons stated before by everyone else. Like everyone else, we're kind of on the journey of AM in our department. So just hoping to contribute as well as learn.
Thank you. Deb Rose?
Hi, I'm Deb Rose from the Metropolitan Council. Been with the council almost 22 years, and in asset management 17 of those 22 years, and strategic planning besides that. And I'm anxious to hear what WISE is doing. I know that my boss, Craig Edlin, has been participating with the UAIM project, so now he's got a few more people getting involved here. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Noyes? On mute. Tim, you're on mute.
He might have wanted to go after you, Cello.
Okay, so my name is Cello. I'm the co-principal investigator on the UAM project, and also involved with WISE, and I welcome everybody. And Tim, when you get back, if you can active, Tim is from Toho Water, in the same organization with Mike Sweeney, and hopefully he'll be able to activate his mic a little bit later on. He may have stepped away. So back to Chris and Mert.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So we have 12 people in the meeting. That's what I'm reading on the on this platform. So welcome everyone. So the next slide, this one is about the business process, how we are sort of developing and implementing business processes to get value out of this exercise. So if you look at actually the right-hand side, the improvement methodology steps. So we have the 6 steps framework that we are using as part of the continuous improvement framework. So in the last 2 years, we sort of focus on those 3 green dots. So the assessment of maturity, analyze as is, and to be, design to be. And really in WISE, we really want to get the implementation stage going for these business processes. So we plan improvements, implement improvements, and monitor performance. And that goes back to the assessment, which was the first step. So it's really a sort of circular continuous path that we're following. And then on the left-hand side, I mean, change management is a key piece. Sorry, if you go back to the previous slide.
Yeah,
Bert?
sorry about that. I'm trying, but I gotta escape the.
That's all right.
I gotta escape the slideshow and go back in it again. Apparently I can't go. Oh, I can't do it back here. Never mind. Yep. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So in the circle, there are sort of 4 quadrants. So there's a people, there's some of the structure, org chart, there's a business process piece, there's a top right corner, and then of course there's a technology and data piece. So these are all sort of key elements to enable changes. So the reason why the green box is around that 4 people with puzzles, so that's really that business processes that we are tackling in different streams under WISE. If you go to the next slide. So yeah, so right now we have basically 6 teams within WISE. So starting with very left-hand side is team people, the workforce, the organization culture. And then on the top right corner, we have team CIP, the capital improvement planning, team assets. That's basically us covering both asset management and risks. And then team energy, that's energy management. And these 3 boxes were sort of enclosed in this blue box because it really, these are the sort of core process improvement streams. And to assess and track the performance against sort of the business processes that we're developing, we need to have a right metrics for these business processes. And to drive proper metrics and track of it, we have to have the right technology and data analytics. That's the bottom box, the data analytics team. And sort of these 5s are sort of correlated and consolidated into this change management wheel. So change management is another stream that will combine, the people elements, the process element, and the technology elements to enable and implement and achieve the improvements and value from these collaboration efforts. So yeah, that's me. And then I think next slide, Bert will cover.
Okay, thank you, Chris. So hi again, everyone. So some of you, I don't know who all really participated in the development of the business process workflows in the previous phases. But what you see on the screen, and don't try to read it, obviously it's really large, is the to-be business process for developing an asset management plan. At least from far away, it may look familiar to those of you who saw it at the time. I remember I was involved in providing some feedback to this. This just serves as a bit of a reminder to you. This captures the full spectrum of the activities at this higher level, if you will, to develop an asset management plan from like A to Z, or A to Z for our Canadian counterparts. One thing that you may notice is that some of these process boxes, they actually have like a little plus sign at the bottom. That's a bit of a sign indicator that there is, there are some sub processes involved. If you were to like click that, there is more steps involved under that box, which I think the next slide actually has a, assuming this works, oh, nice morphing animation there. Shows that, we can identify, click on like establish review required levels of service. And there are obviously certain sets of activities that we need to do to figure out like what those are, levels of service applicable to a specific asset management plan at the organization level, at the asset level, at the system level, customer level, or whatever it may be, right? So just as a reminder, so one of the, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later, but we in this phase of this work where we dig a little deeper and we try to sort of implement some of these improvements. One of our first goals will be like identify a few areas of interest for us to really dig a little deeper and maybe develop some of these more detailed, business processes than we did in the previous phase. So we are basically digging a little deeper going forward in this phase. Just as a reminder, I was happy Cello threw this slide in. One of our deliverables is going to be a bit of a case study where we talk about our implementation journey of this, improved sub-process, if you will, whatever it is that we pick. At first I was also like, oh, what does that case study look like, and like how big of a deal it is. So don't fret, there is some guidelines that helps with, the content and the length and so forth. And as you see on the right, there's a bunch of them that were already developed as part of this effort in the past. So we have some materials to go from. There are also excellent opportunities like succinct documents to sort of catch up with the work that our counterparts did in different teams as well. So it's kind of like I wouldn't call it like maybe one-stop shop, but definitely a valuable stop. If you want to dig a little deeper, and I'm sure Cello can provide a little bit more technical background on this and how this may look like in the future to support the project. But we have the WISE folder, business process modeling, resources, and then guidelines. We'll have the guidelines, and then if you dig into the reports, then you can get to the specific case studies in the SharePoint site, or I guess the team site. I guess they are interchangeable ultimately. Do you want to add anything at this stage on this, Cello, or should I just move forward?
I can. I was just gonna say in the chat link, in the chat space, I put the link to the root folder for all the materials that we're gonna be, where we're gonna keep the materials related to this project. So all the documents or all the initiatives are gonna be in this in right now in folders and files, and the link to the root folder is in your chat line.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cello. Yeah, that root folder link is a lifesaver. That was a tongue twister. By the way, on a friendly note, I tend to sometimes speak fast, so I'll try to slow down. And the fact that I have a little bit of an accent also, doesn't help. So, a brave soul can tell me if I'm not coming across clearly. Just let me know. All right, let's carry on. All right, so now let's start diving into like high-level sort of scope options. Then we'll talk about more specific deliverables later. But in a nutshell, like, what is it that we're trying to achieve in this phase? Just keep in mind that you are seeing some, I don't know, some like date estimates on the screen, and that's what they are. I mean, they are just estimates. The real timeline and the execution speed and all that stuff will depend on our availability, obviously, our other commitments. And the fact that, maybe we'll start, a little bit ahead already because we'll already have the processes figured out, and, developing the as is or the to be's of those specific sub processes maybe will take a little quicker than we think. So keeping in mind, I guess, long story short, these are estimates, but in a nutshell, in a nutshell, in the first few months, we want to focus on, looking at our larger business process workflow. And then, we already have a short list of, as topics of interest or the processes or sub-processes of interest from the last phase, using those as input, looking at it fresh as well. And going back to your sort of organization, talking to some of the people who are developing asset management plans, try to sort of develop, oh yeah, this area of this process flow seems a little more interesting to me than these other areas. So, basically start thinking about that. Point is, we'll pick one, we'll start to dig a little deeper in it. We are going to, do the as is of that sub process in more detail. If it already exists in your organization, great, that would give us a bit of a head start. We can use that as a template. We have a bunch of these, so we may be able to bring those forward ourselves, and then we'll design the to-be of that sub process. From that stage forward, we need to come up with and where things maybe get a little personal at that stage for us. We developed the improvement plan, like how to get from the as is to be, which is something we didn't really do last time around. We had the as is and the to be. And then we had identified some gaps, but we didn't really think about the journey. So this is something we are going to do now. Of course, there is a change management strategy potentially around that. That's depending on, again, the impact. So it's important to consider some of those aspects. And then just Cello noted here nicely, define the success targets. So what do we I guess, how are we going to define that our improvement plan application is going to be successful, once we execute it, which is in the next phase, the execute of the improvement plan, document the results, and then prepare the guidelines or the case study, if you will, that goes with that experience. So I don't know if I hit everything, Cello and Scott wanted to hit here, so feel free to interrupt me. Otherwise, I'll just move forward.
Yeah. And maybe Cello wants to comment here too, but it could be that this team says, let's tackle together a particular sub-process, let's say, but it could be that there would be multiple interests that people would have, and if they really intend to be an active participant, you may want to go do an as-is to-be process for that sub-process for your organization. And somebody else might want to do a different one. So I think Mert and Chris are going to be getting into that a little bit. It kind of depends on what your interests are, but there's a range of possibilities here.
Oh yeah, thanks for that clarification. Yeah, we don't necessarily have to do the same thing. I mean, each team, I think, may have parts of the business process workflow that is more interesting to them or that is more useful to them to improve. Personally, I think, just as an example, we could benefit a lot from standardizing the development of asset replacement costs we use in our asset management plans. It's a little ad hoc right now, and I would like to move that forward. Just as a quick example on our end. But yeah, let's keep going here. Next, let's talk about teams and the sub-teams, if you will. We kind of see it, like it was the case under the UAIM umbrella. There is really the overall, participants to a particular topic area, in this case, asset management and risk management. Generally, there's the bi-weekly status updates. There's the occasional workshop. I think we've done a decent job holding these remotely, Obviously, in-person workshops are better, more productive, but I think it has been a good substitute. And then there's the occasional, conference get-togethers and the presentations where we sort of present or at least meet during those conferences to make some headway. I really enjoyed the Anaheim get-together, for example. Of course, that was next month, everything shut down. So I guess that was one good outing. I did go to Disneyland in that trip, so that was also memorable. So I did enjoy that. So that's the whole, list of our participants. And then, among the list of participants, there's a core team. And generally, historically, core team actually gets together And then maybe every other week of the alternating weeks of the biweekly meetings, they get together. They actually develop some of the materials to present for feedback to the larger list of participants. They collaborate, they exchange ideas. They basically, we would like share the load to develop some of the materials that ends up in our deliverables, including the case studies, and of course doing, if and when the presentations happen, doing those as well. I don't know if Scott, Cholo, do you want to mention anything on the conferences and what is coming up, or should we just do that later? Up to you.
I can just mention that we do have a workshop at 2021 WEFTEC. If you're, I think it's workshop number 14. So if you will if you are planning to go to WEFTEC, you may want to check it out. It may be something interesting for you to attend. And okay. The other conferences we're still planning and adjusting because, in this time of uncertainty, Scott and I are sort of hustling how to adjust to the fact that some people, don't necessarily attend the conference, the others do. So it's a little bit uncertain, but that's in general our intention is to have meetings at WEFTEC, Utility Management Conference, and then a summer workshop, probably hosted by one of the utilities.
Between like the pandemic travel restrictions or the budget travel restrictions, it's been an interesting year. I hope things go back to normal soon. So keep these sorts of participant versus core team member options in mind. We're going to cover deliverables next in the next slide, and I want to ask you afterwards, with a show of hand. You don't have to, it's not like exact or 100%, but if you are interested in being a core team member, I'll ask you to raise your hands virtually, in Teams, just so that we get an initial idea of, like the interest levels. So keep that in mind. All right, next slide is about the deliverables for the first year, like the 3 + 6 month time frame. Core team will be working on these as is and the to be business process workflow, like sub processes of interest to us. It's going to be for the asset management side and the risk side. One of our goals will be, again, to define some metrics, and you may remember some of those from our previous work where the business process workflows had some metrics where we could measure success. We'll do our pilot sort of improvement implementation work. And then, of course, there is the guidelines or the case studies that go with. So this is what we started. This is the to be we wanted. This is the change management elements we considered. This is the roadmap we took, and this is our final product sort of discussion, just to guide other utilities who may want to overtake similar work as to, this worked and this didn't work. Right? It's a guideline in that regard. We'll be developing some artifacts, and of course, project team, as all of us, we are going to be, we are just going to be providing our input and performing some, reviews. And you could do that if you're a participant as well. Even better if you are, sometimes, because you could actually provide an outsider's more critical eye who wasn't in the room for the development. So that feedback will be most valuable. And then our ultimate goal is, of course, our eventual update to this overall water sector value models. It's been a while since I actually looked into the full list of, business process titles under that. I mean, it was a quite extensive list. On occasion, it may be good to Cello to like go back to that in one of the future meetings and then refresh.
Okay.
Things.
Noted.
So Mert, this is Scott, and maybe I'm just restating the obvious, but there's something there. It's up to the participant in terms of the level of involvement that they want to have. You can attend the biweekly meetings, you can listen in, you're going to learn, you can contribute, and we would hope to have a few workshops, that you can participate in as well. The word core team, in essence, means if you're really planning to take a sub-process in your organization and go work on that and go develop that and then report back and get feedback from everybody. That's what is kind of meant by core team versus general participants. So, but don't feel like you have to do one or the other, and you can do both if you like. So it's kind of set up for different levels of engagement by everybody.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Thanks for that clarification, Scott. Yeah, I may not have done a great job with that, so thank you so much for the note. All right, let's see. So our next slide is, I guess, the immediate action items we are thinking about between now and our meeting in about 2 weeks' time. So let me go over those, and then maybe we can do the whole hand raising thing. And this is really our last slide. So over the next couple of weeks, and we'll send some materials later this week so that you'll have a consolidated email with the information you can use. So it will have the to-be business process. It will have the short list of topics of interest on asset management that were brought up with the team that were looking at it last time around. If you remember, I think it was, what is that, Miro or something, the board thing, Richard and team used the board a lot, and we did a lot of voting around topics of interest. So we want to, rely on some of that feedback as well. And then, basically, once we get that, start taking a look at it and start identifying, your areas of interest, which sub-processes appeal to you. What do you want to get out of, improvements to those sub-processes for your organization? Is there people that resources you could tap into in your organization that could actually provide, even though they are not, they could, but even though they are not actively available to participate in workshops, maybe you could start coordinating some of that work internally with them. And then maybe come prepared for the meeting on the 28th in about 2 weeks, as Chris said, to provide some of that feedback, that initial feedback. Ideally, that day, we can have a consolidated short list of topics of sub-processes of interest, and then we could actually develop a little bit of start looking into them, developing some of the assignments and schedules, and the best way to integrate this going and coordinate this to going forward. And so far, you may have noticed that we've exclusively spoken about asset management side of this team. We also have the risk management side. We kind of thought that maybe it's a little too much information to really cram everything into one meeting. So in the meeting on the 28th, we also want to have a small introduction, just like this one, on the risk management side as well. Just as a reminder, there was some initial work done on that too, just like asset management plan development. We have a business process workflow. There were some almost like a sub-process, if you will, of those developed further as well in the very previous phase of this work under UAIM. So we want to bring those materials together and again use that as it's almost like a staging ground of figuring out where we want to tackle or focus next, just like this one. I guess with that said, I'm just going to offer this little brief experiment. If you are leaning towards maybe participating as a core team member where you contribute more regularly to the development of content, and maybe doing some of the presentations in conferences if the opportunity presents itself with travel and whatnot, and just maybe you could show a raise, digital hand raise. I hope that feature works. I'm gonna try. So I'm gonna go here. Any takers?
Would it be okay? They can also maybe write in the chat line.
Oh yeah, if that works, that's absolutely the case. Or you could write, if you're thinking about maybe participant, but also chime in as a core team member from time to time, as Scott described. You could also raise your hand for that one. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
All right.
Scott.
So you could, in case it changes your opinion, take a look at some of the materials we'll email out later in the week, and you can have some internal meetings, and maybe there is some, high level of interest in improving sub-processing your asset management plan development framework. Maybe there is a little bit more motivation for you or somebody else who is really interested in that in your organization to start being a more engaged participant. So with that said, I say thank you so much for listening me go here on and on and on. I'm gonna stop now, and if anybody else between Chris, Scott, and Cello they want to add, now's a good time. Thank you.
And people are making comments too. Like if you have comments, questions, feedback you want to give Mert and Chris, then go ahead and indicate that. But as Mert said, he and Chris are going to be sending something out, which will have some potential kind of topic areas, sub-process areas within asset management, and ultimately we'll do that for risk as well, that you may want to express a preference for.
Okay. So the last item on the agenda was open discussion. So this is a very this first meeting was a little bit more of us speaking, to the group. In the future, we're gonna be striving to include interactive exercises. One other thing that's very valuable on this project is when people post artifacts to the common data repository, document repository, which is basically a OneDrive with a lot of folders. So as we go forward, you'll be able to share with your colleagues, well, this is our asset risk, how we deal with the asset risk registry. This is our tactical strategic asset strategic asset management plan example. The fact that people have shared these, a lot of these things in the past has proven to be very helpful to everybody.
I'll just, since we're in the open discussion mode, like some, like on our end, some relatively recent good development, and maybe Scott will appreciate this. Like our asset management plan process, our early asset management plans did not include one of the more fundamental aspects of an asset management plan, which is the development of future funding, funding liabilities going forward, maybe 30 years, 50 years, 100 years, or so forth. Obviously, things are more accurate in the short term than they are in the long term, sure, but now we are moving towards including those, and over the last 4 or 5 plan updates, as we've done so, our budget team has reached out to us, and now they are using those as input into the annual budget development process, which is great in itself, because the work is actually rolled out and there's more incorporation and integration between departments, if you will. On a personal note, it also adds a little bit of stress if you have to go in front of the management team, to present your case, and things need to have certain level of vigor, and but obviously, anything that's worth doing, it's going to take a little effort. So, yeah. But it was actually a positive development. So I want to make that process even better. I want to improve the replacement cost development, make it more consistent and repeatable year after year, and so forth. Anyway, so it's just part of their overall effort. So good news on that front.
Thank you, Tim Noyes. Did you manage to? I wanted to see if you would want to introduce yourself, if you maybe have your audio active now.
And I think Brittany also joined a little later. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Yeah, Brittany, are you? Could you just give us a quick intro?
Hi, yeah, sorry guys, I had to join late. Brittany Lovelace with Loud and Water, and I'm over our in our asset management department over our vertical assets. And I was part of the LIFT program, and I'm really excited to be here to continue for the first year of FY. So thanks for having me back, guys.
Welcome. Oh, and I see Tim's, yeah, he doesn't have a microphone there. Okay.
I can introduce Tim. Tim is obviously with Toho Water Authority. Tim's our asset manager, and he has a team of 4 folks at Toho. Does everything one would imagine an asset manager would do in a very rapidly growing utility as we are in Central Florida, and a lot of people moving here, and it's just a lot of legacy issues as well. And Tim has been a prior contributor to UAIM efforts. He's done a couple of Signavio diagrams. We also, Tim spearheaded the presentation that we did on standing up a program management office devoted to asset management related efforts for gravity and force mains. So I know this is right up his bailiwick, if you will, and I'm sure he will, I hopefully be able to sort things out, and between he and I we'll contribute in some manner.
Yeah, I remember the presentation, Mike, the program management. Obviously, I enjoyed that one. I remember now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just on the final note, we have only a couple of minutes left. We're going to try to schedule these things. I mean, we don't have. It's very easy. I'm sorry. It's very difficult to find the time slot that works for everybody. I hope this will not be something too inconvenient for you. And we're very much looking forward to everybody collaborating and working on these issues of common interest. For the new folks, I think you'll find that this becomes a bit less formal as we go forward. And we're all very much delighted to have you on board. And this is a kind of a fun. It'll be a fun thing to do. Any other comments from you, Scott or Chris? Or?
I was just going to say, I noticed Deb had a comment and got 3 thumbs up for that comment, because others may be in the same boat. You may be thinking about this core team, how active a participant. Well, I think Jenny, for example, and Tacoma became more active, and same with Chris on risk, and Tim and Mike Sweeney on asset management, as they kind of learned more about what the interests were and how they wanted to kind of develop their own systems. So just looking forward, there's a lot of flexibility here, and I think Mert and Chris are going to try to organize this in a way so that everybody can find a meaningful role and place in with this particular team.
Okay, well, let me just stop the recording, and I will post